investigation, Matt. Do you believe that Israel's record in investigating itself is a good record? They have come up with good results in the past. I mean, there's been so many investigations. Can you cite one investigation where they actually came clean?
So they have spoken to a number of investigations, including one where you had members of the IDF who behaved inappropriately inside a mosque, and they spoke to those members being disciplined. They have spoken to a number of other investigations that they have ongoing. I read comments last week from the chief lawyer inside the IDF who talked about a number of ongoing investigations they have. But ultimately, let's just wait, see what the investigation comes up with, and then we can make our judgments.
Okay. Now, I have a couple more. Just bear with me. On the misidentification. So when they say misidentification, does that tell us that they were actually after 3-car convoy that had Hamas fighters in it and they were targeting? Or, movement of fighters by cars, which is obviously unusual, and so on. Is that what you think they meant?
I don't know what they were after. And ultimately, as I said, it doesn't really matter what they were intending to do. What they did do was kill 7 aid workers, and it's unacceptable and should not happen again.
Okay, so there's been about 196, I believe, 196 aid workers killed in Gaza, 175 UN workers, including UNRWA workers and so on. So I want to ask you, do you believe there's any, what is different about this strike? The fact that this particular strike was, owned or headed by a famous chef and had citizens of Canada and Australia and Britain and the United States, and not just Palestinians. Is that the only difference for this strike to garner such a great deal of space and to engender the anger of the President of the United States of America and your anger?
So, Saeed, I won't speak to why any one strike gathers more attention than others. That's a decision that's largely not made by the United States government. I will say, when it comes to the United States government speaking out, we have talked at length about the need for Israel to do more to minimize civilian harm and minimize death to aid workers. That didn't start this week with these deaths, the tragic death of these 7 World Central Kitchen workers. We have talked about it for some time, and we have pressed the Israeli government to do better and offered them ideas on how to do better. And as I said at the outset, one of those ideas was to stand up the kind of situation room that they are now standing up.
Last question on Rafah and the meeting that took place on Monday. It seems that there are deep differences between the United States of America and Israel on the Rafah invasion. Can you update us on what's going on? What will the United States? What does the United States expect? What does the United States expect Israel to do? Because we're talking about movement of maybe 1.5 million people.
I couldn't tell if you were. I was going to jump in, and sometimes I've jumped in.
Yeah,
You've not been done with the question, so I didn't want to interrupt you. So, with respect to a potential operation in Rafah, what we have made clear to them is we share the goal of dismantling the remaining Hamas battalions that exist in Rafah and do pose a legitimate security threat to the state of Israel and the people of Israel. But we do not want them to conduct a full-scale operation that we believe would not only lead to a high number of civilian deaths and would hinder the delivery of humanitarian assistance, but would ultimately weaken Israel's security. So what we did in that meeting that the Secretary attended at the White House a couple of days ago is to offer them best advice on other ways to accomplish that mission, and we will have follow-up meetings in the coming days to further that conversation. Go ahead. I'll come to you next.